touch Eagle.
You know what that means. It's race time. Heat 2A of Unlimited Hydroboat Racing. And here we go. The old boy Alberto, they had a win yesterday. They are one of the two big dogs on the water this weekend. But how about what John Zimmerman did in the suntan boat 24 hours ago? Can he do it again? He's trying to keep that sun off of him right now. And the Peters and May boat, of course, J.W. Myers. He's pretty slick there behind the wheel. These are some of the stories of Heat 2A. Let's take a look at all the boats that will be racing.
Heat 2A of the Albert Lee Cup is brought to you by Electrolux and Frigidaire. Used in Europe for over 80 years with ingenious features like wave touch controls, induction cooktops to boil water in 90 seconds, and the largest, fastest, cleanest laundry appliances. Electrolux, Frigidaire, legendary reliability. And is presented for Seafair by 76. 76, we're on the driver's side.
And here's the starter clock. It's brought to you by J.P. Morgan Chase, a proud sponsor of Seafair. Chase, making it easy for your personal and business banking needs to start and run strong. Just under 3.5 minutes before we go racing here in Heat 2A. But we see the boats out on the water. They're moving a lot faster than we're going to see them moving in just a few moments. Temperatures already climbing 75 degrees here in beautiful sunny Seattle, and it's going to get up to 95 if you're just joining us live here on Cairo 7. Let's take a look at the boats and the drivers coming up here in this Heat 2A as we get set on Lake Washington. Oh boy, Alberto and Steve David. He is a champion here several times. Can he do it again this year? Here's John Zimmerman, who had a great ride yesterday in the Seattle Suntan Sound prop service. Acura Bellevue, the Miss Peters and May boat with J.W. Myers at the controls. Also coming up here is the Miss Red Dot, Jeff Bernard stepping in, Nate Brown stepping out after replacing Kip Brown. The Miss DiGiulio with Mark Evans. Good to see Mark back here again. And Miss Fox Plumbing, Greg Hopp, one of the great veteran drivers in both Limited Lights and Unlimited. Our Chris Francis standing by in the pits. Chris.
Yeah, Steve, you talked about Jeff Bernard. They just went out. They've got an outside shot at this race, but Mark Evans' boat, boy, they got a standing ovation from another crew here because they raced to fix an air leak and get the cowling back on and get them out. Again, some outside chances for these two boats, but at least they're out there running laps.
Well, that's what you have to do, right, Chip? You got to run some laps. You can't score if you can't finish.
No, you got to get into the soup, as they say. And right now, you saw a shot there lower. A boat's going slow. They want to get that inside lane. To get the inside lane, they got to get there early. When you get there early, you got to go dead slow, because at the exit pin of the first corner, if you pass that buoy with less than 1 minute to go, you're disqualified. That's why you see everybody going so slow.
And you do see the old boy Alberto trailing back there. We'll describe what Steve is doing in just a moment, but he has one win already, and we'll see whether he cranks it up here now.
Yeah, I just want to run down the boats again real quick for you in Heat 2A. Here you go. Alberto, the Seattle Suntan boat, Acura Bellevue, Miss Red Dot, Miss DiGiulio, and Miss Fox Plumbing. So looks like a pretty good race here. The first two on that list tangling up yesterday, and the Alberto winning that one, but John Zimmerman keeping his boat on the water and keeping in contention. We were talking about the soup just a couple of minutes ago. Not too soupy right now, but it's going to get that way before it's all over, as it always does. And as we like to say, we welcome in one of the great voices all time, hydroplane racing. Patrick, our first live race of the day.
And how exciting it'll be in John Zimmerman. We'll see if he gets that horsepower from heaven again in this heat.
Welcome in CairoTV.com, all around the world, viewers online watching. And with that, we bring in the voice of Unlimited Hydroplane Racing, Mike Fitzsimmons.
Question whether the Peters and May got in trouble at the score-up buoy. Might have been there a bit too soon as we watched them. Everybody is moving up the back chute now, getting into turn number 2 to come around. Peters and May wanted the inside lane and got it, but he might have gotten it perhaps a little too soon at that exit pin, which is a problem. You get a one-lap penalty if that's the case. Now, I'm not saying he did do that, but now he is moving out of the way, and it looks as though now it's going to be the green men who'll take, or excuse me, going to be the red dot is going to take that inside lane. Oh, that's Greg Hopp driving the Fox Plumbing. Here they come down to the line. Oberto in lane number 2, and the U9 Zimmerman in lane number 3. And Mark Evans on the outside's got a head of steam as he comes down to the lower corner now, but he is not going to be able to close the door on that other bit of traffic because there's a ton of boats going into that corner. And let's check in with Chip Hanauer if they do. Somebody got washed down.
Yeah, Mark Evans right here on the outside. He kind of started pushing to the inside. Now he's back out. But there could be an infraction because if you look back here, you can see where the wakes came together. That means he did not stay in his lane.
So we've got a boat that is washed down now and dead in the water down there on the lower corner, but up the back chute we go, and Stephen David has the lead from the outside of the Oh Boy Oberto, but he is being challenged by Greg Hopp in the Fox Plumbing, and they've got a dandy race going up into that corner right now with Hopp on the inside and Oberto on the outside, and just outside of him is John Zimmerman in the Seattle Suntan. So they've got a great race going there. And it appears, of course, that the Oh Boy Oberto has the boat speed. But here comes Zimmerman into second place right at the line, passing Greg Hopp on the outside. This is going to be a dandy race for second and third at this point, as Steve David seems to have the field handled now.
We need to send an investigative reporter into that Zimmerman pit because I have no idea how they made that old boat go as fast as it's been going this weekend.
Greg Hopp got a good corner out of that turn and managed to get himself back into second place, and then lost it immediately to acceleration from the 9 boat. And right now, Zimmerman is reeling in Stephen David. He's in the throes of his rooster tail right now, but on the inside, Greg Hopp does not want to let him go, and they're coming up on slower traffic. That's the Peterson May. Now it looks as though Steve David's going to take the lane 2 down, come around a little bit tighter. He's going to try to park the other guys into some traffic, and he does that. He uses that traffic strategically and causes the 9 boat to have to drop back just a bit. On the inside of the 9, of course, is the 100, and that is Greg Hopp, who is carrying on the legacy and racing in the memory of the late Fred Leland. They come down through the lower corner once again, Chip, and it's still Steve David.
Steve David out front, the white boat there in the middle, that's Zimmerman. And if Zimmerman can stay this close to him by being outside, think what he could do on the inside in the final. He could win this race straight up, I think. There you see John Zimmerman. He's a local guy. He's a 5-liter racer, and he has really stepped up this weekend. There's the Oberto. Back to you.
The Oberto, of course, is your leader. The green and blue boat, the lime green and blue boat that's to the outside of John Zimmerman is actually a lap down. That's the Peterson May. So it's John Zimmerman chasing the Oh Boy Oberto, and Zimmerman smartly is going to stay out of trouble and let the Oberto run away with it. We're going to see the checkered flag for Steve David. He wins the heat. Second is John Zimmerman, and once again, Zimmerman is showing us something pretty special out there on this race course. Peterson May comes across the line with one more lap to go, and Jeff Bernard finishes third in the red dot. It looks like Mark Evans will be fourth, and of course then trailing way, way back. That will be the Peterson May. The question is, what about an infraction in that first corner? Because we did see an awful lot of water fly, and it looks as though maybe Mark Evans might be the guy who's in trouble.
You know what happens, Mike, is when Zimmerman did such a great job yesterday, Steve David went right over and congratulated him. I don't think he's going to do that anymore. I think now they're starting to look at him as a threat, and all of a sudden everything changes.
Yeah, you sort of lose your friends that way. Nobody starts to talk to you. They don't come around anymore. They don't write. They don't call.
Everybody loves you when you don't win.
That's right. And when you do, they all feel threatened.
I'm looking at the clock, and I'm telling you, Zimmerman's for real. He's running some quick laps out there with that U9.
He is indeed. And as Chip said, what have they been doing? Because this boat has not shown us that kind of stuff in the past.
And he's been doing it on the outside. I mean, yesterday as well as today, he's been doing what he's been doing on the outside. Now, that's a long way around. And later on today, we're going to show you, what that means being on the outside versus the inside. Think of the Olympics track and field. They stagger those guys. Well, they stagger them for a reason because it's a long ways around.
Zimmerman 137.
And so Zimmerman is doing what he's doing on the outside line. That's pretty impressive. Poor Steve David, he wins the race, but what do? We talk about John Zimmerman, but it's that big a deal. I mean, this boat has just never been even close to competitive.
And I think here's one thing that we always have to think about in these situations. With these guys who are making these boats that you don't expect to go fast. The problem becomes, if they break something, can they continue? Because these teams don't have quite the resources that the Qatar team or the Oberto team has.
Yeah, that's
Steve,
a good point, Steve.
Yeah, it's a good point because it's like a football team, basketball team, it's depth. A lot of these teams, Elstrom, Oberto, they have 3, 4, 5 good propellers. I have a feeling that this John Zimmerman group has one good propeller, one good engine, one gearbox.
You know, that's probably the reason too, Steve, that that Greg Hopp did not continue to push. He had boat speed, clearly did, but he's real limited on equipment.
So here come the boats back into the pits after some live racing here and some pretty good racing as well. Even though people saw what they thought they were going to see with the sausage boat out front and winning, some pretty good competition there and some pushing, at least right until the last lap or so. So Heat 2A now unofficially in the books.
Penalty situation.
As Steve David climbs out of the boat, and our Chris Francis has learned a little more about some of the penalty situation that went on after that Heat 2A. Chris. Well, I guess we'll check in with Chris then in just a couple seconds. Meantime, we have Steve David.
And see, there he is once again congratulating John Zimmerman. You know, I think everybody in the pits is happy to see this. They all like to see a team struggle and work and get up to the front through hard work.
David's getting used to this, popping out on top after winning a heat and winning a final here. What is he, two-time champion here, the defending champ?
He's been amazing. He's my age, which is like 90 years old. And, you know, when I raced against him years ago, he didn't seem that aggressive. But, man, when he gets to Seattle, the guy just turns into a crazy man. And he has driven some of the best heats I've seen anybody drive in history here in Seattle.
I see our Lee Stoll standing with Steve David.
Yeah, not expected to see you troll for a start, but it seemed to work for you.
Yeah, just trying to get some different ideas to get in this preliminary, to get through it and see what we need for the final. But the Alberto's running great, and we'll try something in the next heat as well.
Plenty of cheers on the shore for you, but a lot of them for John Zimmerman, your peer mate here. Did you expect to see him in second?
John's doing a terrific job. I was excited to see him back there. He's really coming along with that team, and they were our backup boat last year in Detroit when I had the crash the week before, so we're just delighted to see them well. And the Alberto's running great. Thanks to my dear friends Sharon Meehan and her husband, who I had the opportunity to spend some time with last night. And I have so many friends here in Seattle that winning here is just the greatest. It's like a homecoming party.
Well, off to a great start. Guys, back to you.
All right, Lee, thanks very much. As we await, we do have unofficial results from Heat 2A, and we'll show them to you right now. The Oh Boy Alberto, the Seattle Suntan Sound Propeller Service, Miss Fox Plumbing, the Miss Red Dot, and the Miss DiGiulio, which we believe was penalized, and ends up fifth with Mark Evans at the controls. Your results brought to you in Heat 2A by Jack in the Box. Get the All-American Jack Combo at Jack in the Box.
Heat 2A of the Albert Lee Cup has been brought to you by Electrolux. Used in Europe for over 80 years with ingenious features like wave touch controls, induction cooktops to boil water in 90 seconds, and the largest, fastest, cleanest laundry appliances. Electrolux. Frigidaire. Legendary reliability.
Thank you, Steve. The winner of Heat 2A about to receive a trophy and more appliances. Heat 2A sponsored by 76. Here to make the presentation from 76, Don Kaplan. Don, welcome.
Thank you, Steve.
Who do you have with you here?
We have Steve David. So, representing the 76 brand of quality gasolines, it really is a pleasure to be associated with Seafair and providing the many petroleum needs. At this time, it really is my pleasure to present this award to Steve David for successfully winning Heat 2A here at Seafair 2012.
Don, thank you. And thanks to Union 76 and all of your employees and associates. Thank you to Alberto and all their employees and associates. And my dear friend Sharon Meehan and Duff Kennedy, who was home I was at last night. I'm home in Seattle, and winning here just can't get better. Having you guys involved and getting appliances from Albert Lee, this is a great day.
Well, great luck in the finals.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Don. Thank you, Steve. We will see you on the water later today.